Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage Season 2 is shaping up to be one of the most interesting follow-ups in the young Sheldon universe. As the story continues to explore the early years of Georgie and Mandy's relationship, fans can't help but wonder, will Georgie regress? Will the same insecurities and impulsive decisions that defined his younger years come back to haunt him? Because while Season 1 ended with some hope and maturity for Georgie, that kind of growth isn't always linear, and for someone like him, backsliding is a real possibility. When we talk about Georgie's journey, we have to remember where he started. He wasn't the academic prodigy that Sheldon was. He wasn't the perfectly responsible one in the family. Georgie was a kid trying to figure out who he was in the shadow of a genius brother and under the weight of a family that didn't always understand him. From young Sheldon, we saw how his charm, his street smarts, and his need to prove himself became his way of coping. Those traits helped him survive, but they also created bad habits, cutting corners, lying to get by, and making emotional decisions instead of logical ones. By the time we reach Georgie and Mandy's first marriage, we see a more grounded version of him. He's a father, a husband, and a man trying to balance ambition with responsibility. But it's clear that his old patterns still linger beneath the surface. Georgie wants to be successful. He wants to provide for his family, and he wants to be taken seriously, but those same motivations can easily push him toward the kind of behavior that once got him into trouble. That's where the question of regression comes in. Growth in characters like Georgie isn't a straight path, it's more of a push and pull. One moment, he's taking huge steps forward, showing maturity and focus. The next, he's tempted by a quick fix or a shortcut that promises a faster way to the top. That tension between who he wants to be and who he's been is exactly what makes him so relatable. Most people who've ever tried to change, especially while under stress, know that growth doesn't erase old instincts. Season 2 could easily put that struggle front and center. Georgie is still young. He's building a business, managing a family, and figuring out how to be a husband and father all at once. That's a lot for anyone, especially someone who's still finding his identity. The pressures of success, money, and family expectations could easily push him back toward familiar behavior, especially if he starts to feel trapped or overlooked. It's also worth noting that Georgie's relationship with Mandy adds another layer to this. Mandy has her own goals, her own frustrations, and her own boundaries. She's strong, assertive, and she doesn't tolerate nonsense. While that dynamic keeps Georgie grounded, it can also make him defensive when he feels he's failing her. One of Georgie's biggest fears has always been being seen as a screw-up. If Mandy questions his decisions or doubts his direction, we could see him react impulsively, not because he doesn't care, but because he cares too much about proving himself. That's the core of Georgie's regression risk: pride. It's the same pride that made him drop out of school when he felt misunderstood, that made him lie to Mandy in the past, and that still drives him to want more than he has. If Season 2 introduces new pressures, like business competition, family tension, or financial setbacks, we might see those cracks widen. Georgie's pride could push him to make a reckless business move, hide mistakes, or even try to go behind Mandy's back to fix things, only to make them worse. But here's the thing, regression doesn't necessarily mean failure. It can also mean learning. First marriage isn't just about romantic love, it's about personal growth under pressure. If Georgie does fall back into old habits, it could actually serve the story well. It would give him a chance to confront his flaws head-on and realize that maturity isn't about never making mistakes, it's about owning them. It's about growing through them instead of being defined by them. Another factor that could test Georgie's stability is his connection to his past, specifically his family. With young Sheldon characters occasionally being referenced or appearing in flashbacks or cameos, Georgie's ties to his roots are never fully gone. His father's death, his complicated relationship with Sheldon, and his mother's influence have all shaped how he views success and responsibility. If those themes resurface in Season 2, we might see Georgie face the emotional baggage he's been carrying since childhood, and that could either push him toward real growth or cause him to spiral before he rebuilds. In a way, Georgie and Mandy's first marriage is a story about cycles, breaking them or repeating them. Georgie's biggest challenge isn't the business, the money, or even the marriage. It's himself. Can he stop repeating patterns that no longer serve him? Can he admit when he's wrong without letting pride take over? Can he choose communication over impulsive reaction? These are the tests that will determine whether Georgie truly grows or regresses. And while the idea of Georgie regressing might sound negative, it's actually the kind of storytelling that keeps him human. Nobody changes overnight. Audiences connect to characters who stumble, fall, and then pick themselves back up. It's what makes Georgie's journey different from Sheldon's. Sheldon's growth is intellectual and behavioral. Georgie's is emotional and moral. That's why his mistakes feel so impactful. They remind us of our own. If Season 2 explores that complexity, it could end up being one of the most emotionally honest seasons yet. Seeing Georgie face new pressures while trying to protect the family he's built and learning when to let his guard down could turn his story from a coming-of-age tale into a story of true adulthood. Because growing up doesn't mean never slipping back. It means having the strength to keep moving forward anyway. So, will Georgie regress in First Marriage Season 2? Probably at least a little. But that's not a bad thing. It's part of his evolution. He's a man learning how to balance ambition, love, and identity, and sometimes that means repeating old mistakes before finally getting it right. What matters most is whether he recognizes the pattern and chooses differently this time. In the end, that's what makes Georgie such a compelling character. He's not perfect, and he's not trying to be. He's just trying to be better than he was yesterday, and if First Marriage Season 2 leans into that, it could deliver some of the most genuine character development the Big Bang Theory universe has ever seen. For more videos, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel.